Altcoin season. The phrase every crypto trader knows, and every bag holder prays for. But here's the real question. What if it never comes back? What if this cycle is different, and Bitcoin eats the entire market alive? Welcome back to the Daily Crypto Roundup Deep Dive. If you've been here before, you know the deal. We don't just skim headlines, we dig into the narratives that actually move money. And if you're new, smash that follow button, because this is where we separate the myths from the market realities. Today, we're going all in on one of the most debated stories in crypto: altcoin season. Is it still real? Is it just sleeping? Or has it died for good? Now, if you've been around crypto for more than a couple of cycles, you'll know the phrase. Altcoin season is this almost mythical stretch in every bull market where Bitcoin rallies hard, and then, suddenly, capital rotates out of Bitcoin and into the smaller coins. Ethereum runs, Solana takes off, XRP catches fire, and then the floodgates open for everything from majors like Cardano and Avalanche all the way down to meme coins like Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. The promise of alt season is simple. Coins you bought at pennies suddenly trade at dollars. Projects nobody cared about double, triple, even 10x overnight. If Bitcoin is the tide, altcoin season is the wave that sweeps through everything else. And traders have been waiting, watching, and hoping for that wave to return. But here's the tension. Every cycle feels different. And in 2025, with Bitcoin ETFs pulling institutional money, with regulators tightening around smaller projects, and with retail participation not yet at full force, people are asking whether altcoin season is a relic of the past. Could this be the first time Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum dominate completely, leaving the rest of the market behind? That's the debate. And in this deep dive, we're going to break it all down. The history, the signals, the arguments against it, the bull case for it, and ultimately what this means for you if you're holding bags of alts hoping they'll rally again. So let's start with the history, because altcoin season didn't just appear out of nowhere. Back in 2017, during the ICO mania, Bitcoin roared through new highs, but what came after was even crazier. Hundreds of projects launched with initial coin offerings, and retail poured billions into them. Coins like XRP went from pennies to over $3. Ethereum, which was trading under $10 in 2016, exploded to $1,400 at the peak of 2017. Even projects that had no working products, just white papers and promises, saw gains that made early investors fortunes. That was the first altcoin season. Chaotic, wild, and unsustainable, but real. Fast forward to 2021, and we saw it again, though this time with new flavors. DeFi exploded with protocols like Uniswap, Aave, and Compound leading the charge. Meme coins like Dogecoin and Shiba Inu weren't just internet jokes, they were making headlines in mainstream media. Elon Musk tweeting "Dogecoin to the moon" sent prices flying. Solana went from under $2 to over $200. Avalanche, Cardano, and Polkadot each rallied to levels nobody thought possible just months before. And once again, it all came after Bitcoin had led the charge higher. That's the pattern. Bitcoin rallies, then Ethereum, then alts across the board. Traders even had a name for it: the Altcoin Season Index, a chart that tracked how many alts were outperforming Bitcoin at any given time. But that's history. What about now? Why are some people saying altcoin season might be dead forever? Well, let's lay out the case. When the United States approved Bitcoin ETFs, it changed the landscape. Institutional investors who once had no easy way to buy crypto suddenly had a regulated, liquid, exchange-listed product. And where is that money going? Into Bitcoin, and in some cases into Ethereum futures ETFs. That flow strengthens the majors, but doesn't necessarily trickle down to the alts. Analysts like Mike Novogratz have said publicly that he believes Bitcoin and Ethereum will capture the lion's share of institutional capital for years to come, which is not exactly music to the ears of altcoin holders. Second, regulatory pressure. In the US, the SEC has made it very clear that most altcoins, aside from Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, are in the firing line. Lawsuits against Ripple, Coinbase, Binance, and others have painted a picture where many smaller tokens are treated as unregistered securities. That kind of legal cloud makes big capital hesitant to touch them. In Europe, MiCA rules are creating stricter compliance frameworks, and even in Asia, regulators are tightening up. Without access to compliant liquidity, alts struggle to gain traction. Third, liquidity itself. One of the reasons altcoin seasons took off in the past was that retail money poured in. Retail doesn't buy ETFs. Retail buys Dogecoin, Shiba, Solana, Cardano, and whatever the hot narrative is. But retail participation in this cycle hasn't yet hit the fever pitch of 2017 or 2021. Volumes are up, sure, but TikTok isn't flooded with people bragging about turning $100 into $10,000 just yet. And without that kind of mania, alts tend to lag. Finally, Bitcoin dominance. Right now, Bitcoin dominance, the share of the total crypto market cap that Bitcoin accounts for, sits at around 54%. That's high. In past cycles, altcoin seasons only really got going when Bitcoin dominance started to fall sharply, sometimes below 40%. The argument is simple. As long as Bitcoin dominates, alts starve. And if ETFs keep pumping Bitcoin higher, dominance might never fall enough to give alts a chance. So that's the bear case. Altcoin season is dead because institutions only care about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Regulators are choking smaller tokens, retail hasn't come back yet, and Bitcoin dominance is too strong. If you believe that, then the play is simple. Hold Bitcoin, maybe hold Ethereum, ignore the rest. And honestly, there are plenty of smart analysts making exactly that argument. But let's not close the book yet, because the bull case is alive too. Historically, altcoin seasons don't happen in the early stages of bull markets. They happen later, after Bitcoin has already made big moves. In 2017, Bitcoin peaked in December, but many altcoins saw their biggest gains in January 2018. In 2021, Bitcoin ran first, Ethereum followed, and then Solana, Cardano, and Doge took their turns. If history rhymes, then what we're seeing now, Bitcoin dominance high, altcoins lagging, could actually be the perfect setup for an alt season later in the cycle. Here's why. First, profit rotation. When traders make huge gains on Bitcoin, they often rotate some of those profits into higher risk assets. Bitcoin holders taking profit at 120,000 might decide to throw 10% of their stack into Solana or Avalanche. That creates the spark for rotation. Second, narratives. Every cycle has them. This time, it could be AI tokens, it could be meme coins again, it could be real-world asset tokens. Whatever the theme, when retail comes back, they don't want to buy Bitcoin at 120,000, they want to buy something cheap that feels like it can 100x. That mentality hasn't gone anywhere. Third, infrastructure. Solana is faster than it was in 2021. Ethereum's layer 2s like Arbitrum and Optimism have real ecosystems now. Cardano has smart contracts running. XRP has legal clarity. Avalanche continues to push enterprise adoption. These projects aren't just hype anymore, they have actual traction. And that's fuel for the fire if money rotates. Analysts are split. Into the Blocks, Lucas Utamuro recently noted that altcoins historically lag Bitcoin, but when they catch up, they can deliver outsized returns. Lark Davis has said, "This isn't the death of altcoin season, it's just the calm before the storm." On the other hand, Arthur Hayes argues that alts will continue to bleed against Bitcoin until regulation clears and retail mania returns. The division itself tells you something. Nobody knows for sure. And in crypto, that uncertainty is exactly where opportunity lives. Now, let's talk about the key signal everyone watches, Bitcoin dominance. At 54% today, it's strong. But history shows that once dominance starts to crack, it can fall fast. In 2017, it fell below 35%. In 2021, it dipped under 40%. If we see Bitcoin peak somewhere above 120 or even 130,000 and then stall, dominance could start to slip as money rotates. The key level many traders are watching is 50%. A break below that, especially with Ethereum gaining, would be the first sign that alt season is waking up. So what are the scenarios? In the bull case, Bitcoin keeps pushing, hits 130,000, then consolidates. Profits rotate into majors like Ethereum, Solana, and XRP. Momentum builds, retail comes back, and suddenly alts are doubling and tripling. That's the classic alt-season scenario. In the neutral case, Bitcoin and Ethereum dominate, maybe Solana and one or two others get a run, but the mid-tier alts just bleed. Traders make money, but it's concentrated. And in the bear case, Bitcoin dominance locks in above 55%. ETFs keep soaking up institutional money. Regulators keep hammering smaller coins, and alt season never arrives. In that world, if you're holding small caps, you're stuck. And that brings me to something important. If you are holding crypto waiting for this season, you need to protect them. Because whether alt season happens or not, hacks, exchange failures, and rug pulls are still real risks. The smartest move is to take custody of your coins. That's why I always recommend a Ledger hardware wallet. It's not just about security, it's about peace of mind. Exchanges freeze, protocols break, regulators interfere. With Ledger, you hold your keys, you hold your coins. If you're waiting for alt season, make sure you're still around to see it. Links in the description. Don't wait until it's too late. Now, zooming back to the bigger picture. What makes this conversation so fascinating is that it's about more than price. It's about psychology. Altcoin season is a dream, a story, a narrative that brings new people in. It's the part of the cycle that creates headlines like, "My neighbor turned $1,000 into $100,000 on Dogecoin." That kind of energy is what brings retail back in droves. And whether you think it's healthy or not, that's what makes bull markets go parabolic. Without altcoin mania, crypto feels incomplete. And that's why people are so desperate to know if it's coming back. Here's what I think. Altcoin season as we knew it in 2017. Wild ICO pumps, projects with no code exploding, that's probably dead. Regulators and investors are too savvy now. But altcoin season as we saw it in 2021, majors like Solana, Avalanche, XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, meme coins, DeFi protocols, that's not dead. It's just waiting. The conditions aren't here yet. Bitcoin still needs to peak, retail still needs to flood back, and narratives still need to catch fire. When those things line up, alt season will return, though maybe not as wide or as chaotic as before. So if you're holding altcoins, don't despair, but don't assume either. Watch Bitcoin dominance. Watch Ethereum's share. Watch for rotation out of Bitcoin profits. And most importantly, watch the retail flows. When your non-crypto friends start asking about Solana or XRP, that's when you'll know it's here. And with that, we'll wrap today's deep dive. Is altcoin season dead or just sleeping? You decide. Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that follow button, and join us for the Daily Crypto Roundup. Until then, stay safe, stay smart, and we will see you at the top.